guys, if you see me look over there, it's just because I've got a little stream off, I've got little comments. But yeah, my name is Claire Beerjeraz, Clary I prefer to be called. And I'm an independent creative and a trainee arts-based psychotherapist. So yeah, that's the sort of course I'm on. I'm doing a master's and there's a lot of interesting things about it. I just want to say that I'm really excited to be part of this little festival, and a massive shout out to Satellite Music and We Want Women for organising this. I'm really grateful to be given the chance to perform on this platform. So yeah, I work independently when it comes to creative arts around acting. I do spoken word and poetry, and I also write music. But today I'll be doing a set of my spoken word pieces. So I've kind of selected some pieces that I find have lots of similarities and lots of differences in some ways. And I'm going to explain a bit about it before I perform them. I found that my earlier pieces that I've written are very simple, but I've chosen to share those specifically for you. And this is something that I've learned on my courses, that often the process of creating art is more important than the end result of it. And that's something that took a while for me to kind of pick up on. But yeah, I just want to represent that in the pieces, and you can see the progression I've made with it. All my socials are Clairey PB. If you want to connect and engage with me more or have any questions or queries, and my PayPal link will be put in the comments if anyone wants to tip or anything like that. Although I do understand, we're in a pandemic, so don't feel pressured to do anything, but it would be greatly appreciated and go towards expenses of my work, my masters. It's hard out here, you know what I mean? I'm sure we all relate, so yeah. Right, so let's go on with my first piece. And yeah, there's the link, there's the PayPal link. Yeah, my first piece is called Ethereal. And I wrote this piece while I was finishing off my basic final undergraduate. I did my undergraduate in psychology. And I had been struggling with a lot of personal issues that made it really difficult to study or even attend my lectures. Not that students attend lectures anyway, but but yeah, I found it really hard to reach out and speak to people in my life about these things. So when I finally decided to speak out to someone I thought I loved, I felt really shot down and retreated back into my shell when they reacted in quite the opposite way, and essentially I ran, and I was like, oh. Yeah, so I just kind of hate the idea of promises sometimes, because this person always promised to be there for me and to support me, and the one time I needed them, they weren't there. It kind of sucks, really. But yeah, I guess the issue I have with this piece is defeatism in it at parts. I was still so attached to them, and even though they weren't there for me, I still blamed myself a bit. And in my opinion, I was very graciously still wanting them to be happy and in love with someone, because they definitely were not in love with me. And I feel like the title Ethereal symbolizes this unfortunate comparison I made with even knew or saw much of, but I just felt that they were this omniscient, ethereal, flowered goddess, and that I didn't deserve to be looked in that way when it comes to love, which is quite unfortunate. But yeah, here's Ethereal. Wow. You hurt me bad. And you pretend you didn't know. I think what makes it worse is the fact that you still show that you care and like me in a not just friendly way. You still lead me on at the end of the day. And I let my walls down. I trusted you a lot. I told you my darkest secrets. But forgive me, it's not love like I thought, because love isn't like this. I've been here before, except this time you forced it. You led me on. You held my hand, you kissed my cheek, you acted like my man, you bought me coffee, you pretended you cared, you asked about me when no one was there. You found a flower better than me, behind my back. She must bloom like a tree. You picked her up while you watered my leaves. Now you've left me to wilt amongst all the debris. I should have known. This always happens. I invested too much into a silly situation. I wore my heart on my sleeves. I replanted my roots. I trustfuled into your arms, just like a fool. But your arms were around someone else. So when I fell, you weren't there to catch me. And I understand she hasn't got any baggage or history. The easier route, the quicker path, the simple way to simple love. I hope you're satisfied, even though you still hurt me. Though it isn't fair, you know I still love thee. So I just want you happy. And if that means with a different flower, I'll let my petals fall and decompose with the others. So that was the piece Ethereal. I hope you liked that one. It can be quite emotional for myself to perform, to think that I actually felt like that at one point in my life. But it was really therapeutic to write. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. You know when the nerves get to you and then your mouth goes really dry? I knew that'd happen, which is why I got a bottle of water. So yeah. So this next piece follows Ethereal very well. It's called Stop, in capitals, Stop. And it's a shorter piece. And I think the energy picks up a little bit more in this. The best way I could describe it is, do you ever get this feeling in the pits of your stomach where you know something isn't right and you know exactly what you have to do to make it stop? Well, that's exactly how I was feeling when I was writing this piece, but I didn't want to stop that thing. I didn't feel comfortable in the denial. In fact, it made me horrible and on edge. But I didn't want to get out of this situation because I was scared that I didn't deserve better. And a lot of kind of sitting in that feeling made me eventually realize I deserve the fucking world. And so does everyone out there. You deserve the world. Don't settle for anyone. So yeah, here is Stop. Feeling so lost. I know I should stop. But why can't I have the courage to not? I need to say no, but I don't want that pain. I need to say no, but I can't stay away. Feeling so lost. I know what to do, but something in my heart says that isn't the truth. Maybe it's because I like to get hurt. It reminds me men ain't shit, and that's what I deserve. Feeling so lost. I know why I must, but he's the only boy I've decided to trust, and it feels like I'm stuck. There is no way out. This feeling's controlling. I just need to shout. Feeling so lost. I need some help. I need the courage I know I once felt. I need to remember who I am, why I'm here and why I stand up for myself and my beautiful exterior, which is just as powerful as my stunning interior. I deserve better because I am better, and I refuse to settle for any matter. Matter of the heart, matter of the love. Fuck your views, shove it up your... I'm not going to say it, but we all know what I was going to end that line with. Yeah, that was Stop. I felt like very kind of angry towards the end of that piece. And that anger 100% takes on into my third piece called No More. It's this piece is kind of about empowerment, because I felt that. And the anger as well in those last few lines of, you know, fuck your views, that sort of thing, shove it up your, I meant to say arse at the end of it, to be fair. But I don't think I've ever written so defensively and passively in my life in this next piece. And I think that mainly stems from the fact that I often turned to my inner self when things went wrong. I finally began to realize, though, that not everything is my fault. Sometimes it's other people's fault. Sometimes it's just the world around me that I don't have control over, and I can't keep turning to myself and blaming me for that. But unfortunately, with that inexperience of managing those feelings towards the exterior people and world around me, it led to this kind of anger that I didn't know what to do with. But that pitted feeling in my stomach that I spoke about earlier, I definitely felt like I was kind of getting rid of that in this piece. So yeah, this is as angry and defensive I've written before in my life. It might not feel like that to you, but comparison to what I usually write, this is definitely it. So here is no more. Anguish and pain, frustration, no gain, misheard and misunderstood, misinterpreted and no good. I feel myself tiptoeing around his feelings. I feel myself scared to express my true being. I don't want to hide what I think and feel. I'm not boring. You just have no concept of what is real. It's unrealistic. It's backwards and wrong. And I'm not going to be your dummy or object at all. You make me sick. And you remind me again that the world is full of ignorant and stupid men, controlling and power-driven, always putting yourself first. But that isn't how a relationship should work. Ignorance is bliss, but it is hateful in you. You wind me up like I'm a toy to you. I am not your doll. I'm not your form of entertainment. I'm a human being and a person. Why is that so confusing? You think you know all, which is actually quite funny because when you talk, you sound like the dummy. Like I said, ignorance is bliss, but you were just a massive prick. Don't lie and say you understand what I'm saying, that you know my perspective when you're clearly not listening. This is coming from a place of hate because you bring that out of me, especially when you try and always pull on sympathy. I don't feel sorry for you. I don't care anymore. I want you gone out of my world like you were never here before. Erase you from my mind. I will try my hardest because scum like you don't even deserve my worship. So I end this piece and I say to you, I hope you never treat a woman like the way you currently do. Learn from this. I wish I stood up sooner. You do the bare minimum. And I hope you realize that instead of behaving like a tumor. So yeah, that was no more. I find it really funny when I'm like going to this really intense speaking and like, yes, so that was but I guess you can see the comparison, like the person I am and the way I perform in that and the wailing in that. It was a lot. It was a lot to deal with at the time. And I turned to spoken word and I put it in there. And did I feel better? A little bit. I still had to go and deal with that situation and I felt great coming out of it. But that was definitely part of the progress that I was making. Whew. So halfway through, guys. Love that. So yeah, this next piece is called Shades of Darkness. And I found that in this piece, I found my voice, you know. I feel like the time between this piece and the last piece I just performed was quite a bit of time. And between that space, there was so much growth and personal development. I'm really proud of this piece because it was actually part of a soundscape for a company called Blackfest. And we wanted to do something for Black Lives Matter, and that was last year. So on a personal level, I have spent numerous years protesting and using my voice where possible to stand up for racial equality. Like I said, it means a lot to me, and I felt truly honoured to be part of that soundscape, but also to still get work during a pandemic, especially in the fields of creative arts. Really, really grateful for that. So on another note, my current research is actually looking at the use of creative arts in healing racial trauma. And I hope eventually to take this on to like a PhD level with the right funding. With my undergraduate, I looked at how racial microaggressions exist around the world and how that impacts Black groups and other minorities in help seeking for their mental health as well. So I'm really glad that I've been able to use kind of my degrees and my course to help also push a really important message that, hey guys, Black Lives Matter, and there's a lot of racial inequality and we need more research around this stuff. And I'm going to be that person who's going to help contribute to that field. So yeah, this is called Shades of Darkness. The pigment in my skin, all that melanin, it breeds a side of me that is held down by society. The darkness I emit is a brightness they resist. See, Black is beautiful and Black is more than this. The aura in the midnight sky would not radiate so bright. And the patterns on a cheetah's skin would not be so bold and contrasting. How would I see a forest in front of me if those seeds were not evolved in a dark place to be? And how would the moon look down and guide me if the sky remained bright and made my eyes blurry? See, darkness can be good and can give me time to rest. I can calm my mind at night and ground myself so I can be my best. They tell me Black is not a look, but I can see so much through the universe's book. The planets and the unknown deep seas. They tell me I can thrive and be me, because without that darkness, those creatures could not live. And in our eyes, those planets, well, they would not exist. And neither do I, if I can't be loved for the colour of my skin, if my history can't be acknowledged and it can't be seen. Darkness can be good. Darkness can be positive. Darkness is a contrast to light, but isn't worse or a negative. It goes hand in hand with the brightness that exists. They are complementary, and without the other, there would be no dynamics. I want that for my skin, for my brothers and sisters, for them and others to know that darkness isn't a faulted conception. It just makes us glow in a different way, but still the same. Equilibrium within the human race. So that was Shades of Darkness. Like I said, it gets across a message that I think is really important. And I found the piece challenging to write because this was at the peak of things that were going on with the murder of George Floyd and the peak of protests last year. And I had a lot of anger in me and resentment. But we were trying to focus on the positives. My initial instinct was wanting to write something really kind of defensive and expressing that anger, but I'm actually really glad that I was challenged in this way to instead focus on the positives and still get that message across. So yeah, that's another thing when I was looking at racial trauma in my masters at the moment, because you know, creative arts heals a lot, and racial trauma is something that is inherited, it's generational, it's something that we experience in the now and in the moment. And I can imagine, and I know from experience, the amount of trauma it caused last year, and currently at the moment it's not stopped at all. So yeah, support where you can. Speaking of, this was quite a good segue. Speaking of kind of using creative outlets, this next piece is called Creative Medium. So I mentioned like I'm on a creative psychotherapy and counselling course. And for me, the moments leading up to applying gave me a true realization that I don't not want to have creativity in my career path. I need it around me. I often felt like I couldn't study the things I wanted to because they weren't seen as academic. But in some ways, I guess I'm happy that I'm on the course I am on now. I think I'm meant to do this and it feels right. But I created this piece because I wanted to symbolize how creative arts is important to me and how it's helped me. I started writing poetry and music when I was in my young teens, and I didn't realize this at the time, but it was really beneficial for me when I was dealing with all these confusing and conflicting feelings. I often had periods of depression. I was crying myself silly. I was struggling on my own because I didn't feel that what was going on for me was real or important. So using this creative medium made me feel heard and seen. It allowed me to communicate with myself in a different perspective and way. And for me, it's a really powerful medium for connecting the body, spirit, and mind, which is why I'm taking the course I'm on. And I really want to use creative arts to help people struggling with their mental health, because it's just as important as physical health. So here is creative medium. Surrounded by grey clouds, the storm begins to rumble. I can hear the water swirl as I settle in a puddle. The tears keep trickling. The water around me gets immense. I feel choked up from the feelings, but I can't quite disconnect. As the waves overtake me, my body becomes tensile. It moves with the storm and I am even more fragile. Hopeless and melancholy, the somber colour takes me. I fall into the wind tides and now I feel no energy. Dismissed by the sunlight, I'm encompassed by the surge. My chest feels pierced with hate. I close my eyes to meditate. My eyelids show no colour until I hear a sound. My breath comes back. It's healing. I feel my feet touch the ground. I look up and the sun is glaring. A rainbow begins to arise. The colours are immense. They begin to materialise. I reach forward as they envelop me. My hands begin to tingle. I paint with the skies. My body is now able. My hands hold the paintbrush. My mind holds the palette. The world around me becomes my canvas. And with every stroke of the brush, I feel catharsis in my heart. I forgot how compelling it can be to delve yourself into creativity. I must venture on my path, ongoing and always, to follow the arts and acknowledge it in most ways. For it is around us, everywhere you look, from the posters on your walls to your favourite book. There should be gratitude towards it, and I most definitely can feel that. For it changed my life for the better, that found me in my darkest day and listened to me when no one was there. It guided me through my world. It became my self-care. The outlet and vicarious communication that it can hold on its own is its own ammunition for personal development and discovery of the inner and outer self. To speak without words can hold so much wealth. And although days get dark and sometimes I don't turn to you, I know it is always there and I hope you will try too. Powerful work and powerful minds created by art in such gracious time. Reach out to that rainbow and paint the clouds. Push through those bad feelings using your innovative mind. It won't always work, but you will be surprised how the creative world will change your life. So yeah, that was creative medium. And this is my final piece. We've got about 4 minutes left. And I actually created this next piece, particularly for this festival, inspired by International Women's Day, and it's called Woman with a question mark, which is why I said it like that, woman. So yeah, I'm really proud of this piece as well. It was not only therapeutic to write, but it challenged me in the way I created it. So I wanted to have something that felt personal, but also I knew a lot of women could relate to. So halfway through my writing process, I asked some of my good girl friends ways in which they felt stereotyped by their gender and how they felt their gender was like held against them. And it really inspired me to write even more, and it made me grateful as well to have such strong female friends, and that despite all these points they shared with me, they were still and still are navigating themselves in society with such class, excellence and ambition. So here it is. Woman. Such a powerful word. There's so much meaning behind it. So many stories and so many emotions, lots of strength and lots of oppression. My gender does not define me, yet in many ways it does. Why do I feel so attached to that word? Is it because society tells me to, or is it due to my mind needing to identify? Woman. Me. I am a woman. And do we ever talk about how I'm expected to grow up faster than my counterparts? I'm supposed to reach the same end goals, but with more barriers. Marriage was this expectation, kids without choice part of the equation, sign myself off for the rest of my life, stay home and be someone's wife. I can't even express how objectifying it can feel to have people tell me that this inequality isn't real. And if I made the choice to be a stay-at-home mum, I would be told I'm falling into the oppressor's sum. And my lines above are not contradictory. See, there is a difference between choice, expectations, and reality. Choosing to do something based on my free will is empowering. It and gives me the control and thrill of life, of being my authentic self and following my desires, not doing what society sees as a triumph. Don't expect a nude from me or to open up at first glance just because you assume my emotions have me in a trance. No, I won't always catch feelings from sleeping with you. And trust me, there is a lot more than to my body, and that doesn't make me a prude. Women are creators, curators, powers of the world. The aptitude and our instincts is unreserved. Stop putting us down, belittling us and patronizing. Instead, look around. We aren't catastrophizing. I'm not saying we are better, but I'm also not saying we are less. Don't bring me the "here's your equality card" when it suits you at best. This isn't about who pays on the first date or who works harder. It's not about competition. We just want our power. Because we see it in ourselves, and I know my self-worth. But to lots of men, that confidence makes me a jerk. What? Because you expect a woman to obey your command, to be powerless, lack confidence, and take all your remarks. My body, my rules, my choice, my life. Why do I have to endure so much pain by going on contraception? Because my choice is either that or I must abstain. And if I want an abortion, it's not legal everywhere. But my baby daddy, oh, he won't even have to care. Sex positivity is an excuse for being a slut. Well, you're wrong, and once again, we get judged. Sorry, I'm not uncomfortable in my skin, and I can show my body off without feeling like a sin. See, I can be more than what society thinks, and your ego can't compute because you don't feel controlling. And if I say I'm a feminist, I can hear the sighs already. Sorry, I forgot it's boring and overplayed when you don't have to deal with inequality. You know what? Maybe I must admit, women does define me, and I don't have a problem with it. I know I'm more than just a woman, but that word carries a lot. It's the stereotypes and barriers that follow it that make it so hard. But I won't give up, and I hope you don't too. We have a lot to fight for, and this isn't new. Hundreds of years asking for representation, and I won't even start on the fight for Black women. Don't let the voices of a few dishearten you. Support yourself and let others do the same to you. I believe one day we will all be treated the same. It might not be now, but we will reclaim. And everyone will see how women are different in an incredible way that doesn't make us insignificant. We'll be taken as we are, and everyone treated respectfully, not just in what we can do, but in how we move universally, dynamically, in long, compelling strides, making choices for ourselves because we are women and we have pride. So yeah, that was my set. I've overrun by a minute, I apologize. But yeah, my links are Clairey PB, PayPal's there and everything like that. And thanks again to We Want Women and the Satellite